It's driving range season, and that means lots of people are going to be practicing, but I'm going to give you my top 5 mistakes you should avoid if you're going to spend some time at the range this winter. Before we find out what the first fault is down at the driving range, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, guys. Totally free to do. We do lessons like this every week and also loads of other videos, and it's free. Guys, hit it. Let's find out what number 1 is. And tip number 1, and make sure as well, guys, you stay around till number 5 because it only makes sense with the first 4. Tip number 1 is all about these. How many balls are you actually going down to the range to hit? Because the amount of times that I hear people say, well, I go to the range, I hit loads of balls and I'm not getting any better. But the pros hit loads of balls and they get better. Well, for the pros, it's quality and quantity. With a lot of people that I know, it is just pure quantity. There's no quality to what you're doing. So make sure, if you're going down to the range, think to yourself, I'm actually better off hitting 50 balls, working on something that I know I need to improve, maybe my chipping, my pitching, my 7-iron, my driver, or should I just get 200 and whack them? Because, you know, if I hit 200, I'll probably get better. No, you won't. You'll probably cement the bad habit that you've already got in your golf game. So when you go down to the range, make a considered choice when you're buying those golf balls. They cost a fair few quid, so make sure that each one that you're hitting has a purpose behind it. Tip number 2 is all about aim. When we come to a driving range, generally the mats are rectangular or square, and we're also in a bay that is square or rectangular and points in a certain direction. And the amount of times I see people just get onto the mat, align to where the mat is actually aiming. For me, it's actually down the right hand side at the 150 sign, but I want to hit more to the middle of the range in my mind. I won't want to play to the sides. I almost want to feel as if I'm playing to the middle of the green or the middle of the fairway. So I aim square to my mat. I then actually try and make a swing where I'm hitting to the middle, down the left side there more for me, and I think, oh, that's a decent shot, but actually I'm building in some swing floors because that's actually a pull hook that I've just hit, as opposed to if I were to swing and actually go to where I should hit, I would hit my correct shot. So sometimes we can build faults into our swing and also just get into poor habits from transitioning from the driving range out onto the course, because here we've got the parameters, we know how to align ourselves to this, and if we're not practicing with either a guide down to help us with ball position, to help us with alignment of our body, when we get onto the actual golf course, we might struggle with that one. So make sure when you do go to the driving range, try and practice with some alignment aids down and switch them around as you're going through your session, so you're not just aligned to the mat the whole time. Change where you're aiming up and don't just hit balls aligned with your mat, because then as you get onto the golf course, you won't fall into any bad habits. Right, come on, let's smash it. Let's smash it. Oh, absolutely smoked that. That's actually a pretty decent drive, and that is tip number 3. How many times do you come to the driving range and just think, right, driver, let's get it out and let's smash it as hard as we can? The reality is, when you get on the golf course, I bet you don't swing like you do down at the driving range. So if you are going to practice down at the driving range, A, limit how many drivers you are going to hit, and then B, actually think about, is there a fairway out there that I could aim for? Do I have some form of target? Or if you have things like the top tracer now, obviously we have the long drive competition and we have other things going on, but maybe try and see how many fairways you could hit as well. Do have the element of speed in there. Maybe say if you're going to hit 20 drivers down at the driving range, why don't we say that 10 of them are hit as hard as you can and 10 of them are hit actually with speed, but also with a little bit of accuracy. So we're not just getting into actually bad swing faults and swings that we're generally never going to make out on the golf course. We're actually coming behind and thinking, okay, yeah, I still want to give this a bit of speed, but I also want to try and make sure that I'm in a 30-yard space here. So as I get onto the golf course, at least I've got a swing that can translate, and from there then, still going to have my speed. And actually there, it's a far better drive, bullet straight, and I've still got a bit of distance out of it. So don't be the guy who's just coming down and being a driver smasher. Actually driver or drive with a little bit of purpose. Tip number 4, and this is probably my favourite one out of all of them, and that's having some feedback. Now, when we go to the driving range, obviously we've got a massive field with no out of bounds, no water, no trees, no real punishment for if we hit a bad shot. And also, if you're practicing on something, you might just hit a ball and it goes out and you think, oh, it was all right, it might have worked, I might have made the swing change, but you need to give yourself some feedback. And that could come in the case of if you're actually just stood hitting golf balls, have you picked a target like we said earlier? Because if I hit a shot now, and I hit that one and I see where it goes relative to my target, with things like the top tracer now, I can actually see that today all my balls are going a little bit left. And if I had this as a common theme when I'm practicing at the driving range, I probably shouldn't be aiming at a flag that is left of the green, on the left of the green as I get out onto the golf course, because I know that my miss is left. So something that's say on the right or the middle, I can aim there because I know I've got a bit of green to work with. Also, if I'm working on a swing change and I've got maybe a head cover in place or some alignment canes, if I make the incorrect move and I graze these or hit the canes or head cover, that notifies me that I've not made the desired move. Thus, I'll have to make some more practice swings and I'll have to try and get the club into a better position that I'm working on with my coach. So when you go back to the range, it is paramount that you're getting feedback on whatever you do. Pick a target, maybe have some barriers in that you're working around. Have a look at your dispersion of your golf balls, where are they going? These are all things that are going to make you a better golfer. And tip number 5, now we've heard all 1 to 4, this one makes perfect sense, and that is tying all those things together. When you come down to the driving range, when you're coming to practice, have a plan please, because the amount of times I speak to lessons and people who are writing in saying, I'm going to the driving range, I'm not getting any better. I say, well, what do you do when you get there? Well, just hit balls. Well, why? Don't know, that's what you're meant to do, and it hit balls and the magical miracle happened to us. It's not the case. Think about what we said earlier. Are you going down there and actually working on your alignment? Because you could be taking a bad habit to the golf course and making yourself worse. Are you just going down to smash driver and actually getting worse with driver as you're doing it? Are you actually giving yourself any feedback when you're on the golf course, when you're on the driving range? Probably not. If you can tie things like these together and actually go down with just a little plan, if you've had one lesson with a PGA Pro, they can tell you what your swing needs to do to be a bit more consistent and functional. You'll have an idea of what you should be working on. So you can go down and say, I've got 50 balls, 10 are going to be warming up, 20 are going to be working on my swing changes, 10 are now going to be working on some form of challenge, and then 10 I'm just going to warm down with those. That'll be better than you standing hitting 200 balls with no clue of why you're actually hitting those golf balls, because all you're doing there is cementing your bad habits and making yourself a worse golfer. So have a plan please. If we don't prepare to plan, we prepare to fail. Remember that. I came up with that myself, not. Go down the range, have a little bit of an idea of what we're doing, and then we're going to become better golfers. Guys, I hope that helps. Share it around with someone who is a range rat, and we'll see you in your next lesson. Remember, hit the subscribe button. Catch you at the range.